So Jasmine's 24. She's lived with, as she calls it, a lazy pancreas for almost 12 years. She is half Colombian and half Iraqi, which is just gorgeous. And she's part of the Gold Hoop Brigade with me. And born in Colombia, is that right, Jasmine? Yeah. Grew up in Australia and now a Londoner. So I think she's going to have a whole world of experience to talk to you guys about. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time. I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Please give it up for Jasmine Jaffar, everybody.
I'm just going to test the clicker thing first so I know how it works. Okay, perfect. Growing up, there was always one story my mom would tell me in any moment of hardship or challenge. Ants, as tiny as they are the definition of perseverance, stamina, and resilience. When you place an obstacle in their way, they find their way around or through it. They work together as a community. They never give up, and some species can even withstand pressures up to 5,000 times their weight. It's a story that's impacted and inspired me so much that it became my first tattoo when I turned 18. As much as my mom wasn't too keen at the idea of her youngest daughter getting a tattoo, there wasn't that much resistance when I explained how her story was the inspiration behind it. The tattoo is a reminder to persevere, to stay grounded, to embrace any challenge that comes my way, a mindset that has helped guide my approach to life and my relationship to type 1 diabetes from the moment I was diagnosed. Hi, I'm Jazz. I'm a type 1 diabetes advocate and content creator. At 12 years old in 2010, my pancreas took a holiday, and it's been my lazy pancreas ever since. From that moment, I have nurtured my relationship to my diabetes and consequently my relationship to myself every single day. I have endeavored to find chronic wellness with my chronic illness and to essentially embody the spirit of an ant as I persevere with the added weight of diabetes. I have chosen to be the type that thrives, and I want every person living with diabetes, a chronic illness, and those with fully functioning organs to thrive as well. I'm so happy and honored to be in front of you all today, and so excited to share how my approach to nurturing my mind, body, and soul, and my lazy pancreas has empowered me as a type 1 diabetic. Let's begin with our minds. When you're first diagnosed, you think that you only need to think about the physical aspect. All the education, tools, and resources I was given focused on the relationship between diabetes and my body. It wasn't until I got a little older and learned more about myself and the world that I realized I also had to nurture and care for the relationship between diabetes and my mind. Luckily, subconsciously, I had already taken the first steps in doing so, because after I was diagnosed, I didn't just accept that I now had diabetes, but I also embraced it. To accept and to embrace may come from the same root, but they grow into very different things. When you accept something, you recognize it, you acknowledge it, you tolerate it, but it doesn't mean that you respect it or that you nurture it or that you're at peace with it. That's why embracing it holds so much power, because when you welcome diabetes into your life openly, with love and with gratitude and with open arms, you can thrive. When diabetes first knocks on our door, it's definitely an unwanted visitor, and we all hope it will read the room, leave early, and never show up again. But it unpacks its bags and puts its feet on the sofa and settles in. It's here to stay, and not just as a guest, but it now becomes part of our home. No matter how hard we try to kick it out, by giving it the silent treatment or becoming an unbearable housemate, or even appealing for legal aid, it's here with us to stay. Will you choose to just ignore it or just coexist with it, or will you choose to live harmoniously with it? That's why I truly believe that the first steps to finding chronic wellness with our chronic illness is to not just accept its presence in our lives, but to also embrace it. By embracing your diabetes in all its forms and all its hardships and all its glory, you embrace you. Rather than a lifetime of suffering over something that cannot be changed, that mindset shifts into the active choice of finding prosperity with a part of your life that is with you forever. It empowers you to optimize your relationship with your chronic illness. You understand that the very nature of diabetes is one of fluctuations and phases, and rather than fight against it, you flow and grow with it. You give yourself compassion as you experience those fluctuations, and not just of glucose levels, but also mentally as you navigate life with something as demanding as diabetes. Rather than seeing your pancreas as broken or thinking that your body has failed you by giving you an autoimmune disease, you thank your body for doing everything it could to not let anything get in its way, even if that included its own organ. You don't let the numbers define you, and instead you see them as your body communicating to you. Isn't it incredible that we can be so self-aware and understand how something like a smoothie or doing weights at the gym or how much sleep we've had impacts our glucose levels? Sure, it can get overwhelming because everything under the sun impacts us, but by consciously choosing to see it as information that allows us to optimize our well-being, we enable ourselves to flourish. By embracing my diabetes, I've found an immense sense of joy, gratitude, and autonomy. Many things in this life are and will be out of my control, and my type 1 diabetes was one of them. But I can still have control over how I feel about things, over my reaction to them, my mindset, my energy, my approach to life, and how I show up for life every day. Of course, embracing diabetes doesn't mean that the challenges or exhaustion or burnout doesn't exist. It doesn't mean only acknowledging the sun and ignoring the gray clouds, the thunder, and the rain. It means welcoming the rain when it comes, allowing it to water your being, knowing that it is a season of life and trusting that it is temporary. The sun always rises again. All those things are a combination of embracing our diabetes and nurturing our mindset. And in turn, we empower ourselves to bloom where we are planted. Now, let's move to our physical being, this part of our diabetes. When we bloom where we are planted, we are still happy to do so with an insulin injection bruise on one arm and a continuous glucose monitor on the other. When the wind comes, we dig our roots in even further into the earth to stay grounded, and when the sun shines, we extend our being to soak up as much light and energy as possible. When you flow through life with those seasons, with the awareness that the journey of it all exists to help you grow, taking up space in the world with your lazy pancreas is no longer something to fear, but rather something to be proud of. Feeling proud of our diabetes, that's not something we often hear, is it? Well, I can't be impartial towards it because in my opinion, that'd be being impartial to a huge part of who I am, and I refuse to sit on the sidelines of my own life. My diabetes is also certainly not something that I'll be embarrassed or ashamed by because I'd be doing myself a huge disservice. So yes, I am choosing pride. I'd like to share a metaphor for pride and confidence with diabetes, and at this point, I don't think it will come as a surprise that this one is also inspired by nature. Let's look at the animal kingdom, the stripes of a tiger or zebra or the spots of a giraffe or leopard. They add to their magnificence, uniqueness, and strength. What's on their skin and bodies is an extension of how extraordinary, resilient, smart, and adaptable they are. Do you think a lion struts around worried that it could have bedhead? Of course it doesn't. Its mane adds to its power, and the lion knows that. That's how feeling confident and self-assured with the physical manifestations of my diabetes has also helped me find chronic wellness with my chronic illness. When you inject insulin in public, wear a continuous glucose monitor or pump, or have visible bruises, bumps, and scars that come from all the needles that we deal with, those are our tiger stripes and lion manes. They're part of our skin and our body and of us. They represent the power and perseverance of our journey with type 1 diabetes. They show how strong and resilient we are. They're a testament to what we experience and what we're capable of. And they show a fierceness that can only be admired. And when you navigate life with that energy, you thrive. Confidence with our chronic illness stems from our mindset, but it's also fed by the relationship between diabetes and our physical self. Not only will you then feel empowered in and by the visibility of your diabetes, but that confidence then feeds into other layers of your life with type 1. It helps you self-advocate in clinical settings because you feel aligned with your own body and its needs. It helps you take charge of your diabetes management because you know what works best for you. It helps you say yes to life and to experiencing new things because you're not worried about what someone will say about your CGM alerts or your pump. And that gratitude I spoke about earlier, you feel that here too. When I look at my body and see my CGM, the red dots on my fingers from finger pricking, the scars from previous sensors, and some bruising from injections, I want to give myself a giant hug. I look at it all and I feel gratitude. I'm so grateful for all the medical innovations, tools, and devices that are the reason I can live my life as a diabetic. They remind me how lucky I am to have access to the resources in the first place. They remind me that my body is my home and that I owe it to myself to live in it proudly, confidently, and unapologetically. And when you're at home and at peace with yourself, that's when you can cultivate wellness. Finding wellness, that's magic for the soul, which leads me to the spiritual aspect of diabetes. I've spoken about how my body is my home, and when I was first diagnosed, my diabetes moved in rent-free. It takes up the room that I always need to keep an eye on because it needs perpetual care and maintenance. But the rest of me needs love, care, and attention too. There's other rooms in my home that also want to and deserve to thrive. Health and happiness with diabetes is interconnected and intertwined with health and happiness we also nurture within ourselves holistically as well. So as much as we should focus on our relationship with our lazy pancreas and keep it a priority, it's okay to also focus and nourish other parts of us too. In fact, it's more than okay. It's necessary, important, and good for us to do so. This is where embracing our diabetes and feeling confident and proud of it then gives us a powerful foundation to be able to move forward in our path and live the life we want. Because you don't see your diabetes as something that limits you or holds you back. You don't stop yourself from wearing the outfit where your CGM is visible. You don't feel embarrassed to nurture a relationship with a partner or friend or colleague, and you don't fear the moment you'll have to drop the D word on them. You don't feel scared to jump on a plane and explore the world or pack your bags and move to another country. Of course, when making decisions like that, I've had to keep diabetes at the forefront of all of them. Our lazy pancreas often needs to be put first and demands so much from us. And that can be exhausting and challenging and overwhelming. But I can't change that. I can't change the demanding, fluctuating nature of type 1 diabetes, but I can change my mindset towards it. And I can feel even more motivated to fulfill all my hopes and dreams and plans. I've had to adapt a lot to my type 1 diabetes, but sometimes Jazz in her entirety gets put first, and then Jazz, the diabetic, gets to do the adapting. That's enabled me to say yes to myself, and yes to energizing my soul, and that then becomes a beautiful, empowering cycle. I nourish myself, my lazy pancreas is nourished, and then that nourishes me again. Diabetes, while being a 24/7 job and a chronic fluctuating journey, doesn't stop me from living my best life. It doesn't stop me from experiencing life vibrantly and vivaciously, and it doesn't stop me from finding chronic wellness. Sure, it might try to put its foot down here and there because my lazy pancreas loves to be the center of attention, but I take on the weight like a little ant and still have incredible, magical, fulfilling life experiences. Here are a few. I've traveled to 17 countries over 6 continents. The lengths of those trips varied from a few days to 9 months, and some of those trips were solo travels too. I went to uni, changed my courses a few times until I found what really interested me, and then graduated with 3 majors. I also studied abroad in Milan, Italy for 4.5 months. While I was there, I met and fell in love with the partner of my dreams, Melis. Fun fact, on one of our first dates, I had a hypo and told him I had to stop walking around to treat it. He got us both some apple juice, and we sat there together in the middle of Milan, sipping on some apple juice. I moved out and moved countries from Australia to the UK during the pandemic. Living in London has been incredible, and I've also found a job that I'm so happy and aligned with. I've gone to 10 concerts and been in the mosh pit of 5 of them, and I've gotten 6 tattoos and counting, but don't tell my parents that. Those experiences all have one thing in common. I was following and feeding my soul, and my lazy pancreas tagged along and had the time of its life too. I've been able to find chronic wellness with my chronic illness by creating and curating a life that fulfills me and honors every aspect of who I am, and that puts me first. I've taken my chronic illness on board with me as I travel through life, and not only has that been an extraordinary journey, but the benefits it's had on my diabetes has been so powerful. The 12-year-old me who sat in the children's hospital listening to her medical team say she'd have diabetes for life, but that should be okay, would be so incredibly happy and relieved that that has indeed been the case. Diabetes isn't my whole story, and being a diabetic is only one thing that I am in this life. But diabetes is part of me and is part of my home, and it's deeply and intrinsically intertwined with my life story. When I think about just how magical, beautiful, challenging, crazy, powerful, and extraordinary life can be, I'm so grateful for everything I've experienced with my lazy pancreas, and so excited for everything to come as well. Finding chronic wellness with my chronic illness is an ongoing journey, a chronic journey, if you will. It isn't linear and it evolves with me as I grow and flow through life. We all have such individual experiences of our diabetes, which is relative to our own personal context and environment. Wellness for me will look differently to wellness for you. But in a space where so many of us focus on the illness part of our chronic illness, I hope to encourage a bigger focus on the wellness part. I truly believe in the power of embracing diabetes with an open mind, an open heart, and open arms. I truly believe in the power of living in our homes, our bodies, confidently, proudly, and unapologetically. And I truly believe in the power of nurturing every part of who you are. When all those things are aligned, the mind, body, and the soul, and the lazy pancreas thrive. I'm the type that thrives, and I believe that in our own way, all of us are. All diabetics have that within us, and I want us to all feel empowered in our own individual journeys. I advocate for that on the typethat, my Instagram account, where I share my journey, which led me to being here with you all today. I started the typethat together with Melos during the pandemic while we were on opposite sides of the world, and have worked on it together every day since. It's a space where I advocate for wellness and positivity within life with type 1 diabetes, chronic illness, and beyond. To raise awareness and empower diabetics, we've launched 3 educational and entertaining series: Diabetic Dictionary, Diabetic Diplomacy, and Diabetic Dialogue, and we're so excited for what the future holds. I'm so thankful for everyone who has joined me on my journey there, and if you're happy to feel empowered through life with ant and nature stories, amongst other things, you can find me there. It's been such an honor to be present with you all today, and I'd love to express some gratitude for it. Thank you so much to Novo Nordisk for this amazing opportunity and for inviting me to share my story with you. And thank you for making the liquid gold that keeps me alive. Thank you to all of you for being here and creating this platform for us to unite and share our stories and experiences of diabetes. Thank you to the diabetes community for being such an inspiring, uplifting, and supportive space. Thank you to my family for nurturing and shaping me into who I am today. Thank you to Melos for being the ultimate life partner and who treats my diabetes as our diabetes. And thank you to my lazy pancreas for keeping me on my toes and inspiring me to be the best version of me. Before I leave you all, I'd like to leave you with this question. The next time life throws something unexpected in your path, an added weight that will be sure to challenge you, will you let that stop you from continuing to move and flow with life? Or will you embody the spirit of an ant, take on that added weight, withstand the pressure, and use it as momentum to grow and thrive?